SABC has received some negative feedback resulting from lineup changes that the public broadcaster has implemented on a number of its radio stations. According to the broadcaster, the changes are in order to remain competitive and relevant to audiences across the spectrum. But the decision has not gone down well for some of the listeners and listenership numbers. But to explain some of these changes, we are joined in studio by SABC spokesperson Vuyo Mthembu. Good to have you, Vuyo. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Leanne, for having me.
Are you now our new spokesperson here at the SABC?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the voice and face we'll be seeing quite often when it comes to issues relating to the SABC.
Correct.
Congrats on the position.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get into the topic at hand now. A lot of listeners have been complaining, some people not too happy with the lineup changes. I suppose the question is, how are these decisions made?
Thank you very much, Leanne, for the question. So the review process of lineup changes happens every year in March or starting in February until March, and it takes into consideration revenue generated, how the program performs, as well as the strategic direction of the particular radio station. And we are aware that some listeners are not happy with some of the changes, and some are happy with some of the changes. So it's a mixed bag of reaction, and we're just really calling on the public to give these programs an opportunity, a chance to listen to them.
Yeah, I think I can understand. I mean, change is inevitable. It does happen. But sometimes the change happens without an actual reason. I mean, the reason that's stipulated perhaps is not good enough for the listener who likes the person who's on the show, but then they're removed.
I think it's also personal preference. A person might like a particular presenter, and we actually... we appreciate that because it shows the caliber of broadcasters that we have. But like I said, changes are done in line with the strategic direction that the station wants to take. And we just implore our audiences to give those changes a chance.
Yeah. But even if it's against the listener's will, because, I mean, sometimes it results in the drop in listenership. And isn't that what the SABC is all about? You're trying to attract people as opposed to getting rid of listeners.
Look, right now I think it's too early to say whether there'll be a drop in listeners on our radio stations or particular programs. Hence, I'm saying people must give the programs a chance. Some people may not like the changes, but there have been others who have come out to say they like the changes and they're appreciative of those changes. Yeah. So it's about striking that balance.
I suppose it is a balancing act, but it's a tough time because some people, you tune in every day, you enjoy what you're listening to, and then suddenly that's disappeared, and then you have to get used to a new voice, and people become very, very sort of territorial over certain spaces. They really, really do. Yeah. But you also find that some hosts will stay even though their listenership has dropped. Now, perhaps we can talk to that, because some people always emphasizing the fact that, like, is it more of a favoritism? Is it more of a flavor of the moment kind of thing, as opposed to a structured way of implementing decisions?
No, there definitely is a structured way of doing things, and it's not one individual who makes a decision in terms of lineup changes. Things are done in consultation with radio management as well, and it's about giving those programs a chance. I don't want to talk about individual presenters. I don't want to go there, but like I'm saying, give our programs a chance, and I think our listeners, they'll see that there'll be good content coming out of the people that we've put in place.
What has the reaction been that you've sort of seen from the SABC radio point of view, from some of the listeners and viewers of SABC?
Like I said, it's been a mixed reaction. Some are happy, some are unhappy. So it's tough trying to please everybody, but what we've done is it's in the best interest of the SABC as a business, as well as trying to listen to people's input.
Yeah. There's also criticism, and I suppose this is where the SABC and other media houses come under scrutiny, and a lot of people saying that radio stations, or whoever it may be, recruit celebrities based on social media followers, as opposed to those that actually have the know-how to do that show and will bring perhaps the best that they can possibly bring to the platform. What is your response to that? They're compromising on quality just to have these social media celebrities. This is one of the comments that have come through.
Yeah, no, I've heard that comment, and I think we need to give those people that are branded celebrities an opportunity, because some also have background in journalism and broadcasting. So, like I said, I don't want to talk about specific individuals, but really the changes that have been made we stick by them, and as radio management, they believe that these changes are in the best interest of their respective radio stations.
There hasn't been a single radio station that hasn't been affected, has there? In basically, I mean, all of lineup, not every show has changed, but a lot of the radio station shows have been changed.
Yeah, some radio stations have just had minor changes. For example, a presenter moving to another program. Others have been, I wouldn't say major, but there have been more changes in terms of different programs coming onto the platforms.
Do you ever engage listeners? I mean, do you ever have polls? Do you ever have a consensus to say, okay, guys, let's bring in some people that are not necessarily involved in the organization, but they represent what South Africa wants? Do you ever call them in and say, okay, let's do some surveys and see what do you like, what don't you like? Do you do that?
Well, I know radio stations, during the year, they do engage directly with their listeners. A station manager will go on air and to engage with their particular audience. And in addition, we do, welcome engagements from different kind of stakeholders who've got an interest in the SABC. So engagements happen all the time with us and the public.
With listeners. When it comes to changing, because then there's also this talk that sometimes the SABC doesn't handle the change very well, and some of the on-air personalities are not even aware that they've lost their show, and it almost takes a leaked report in a Sunday newspaper to find out that you've lost your job.
I don't know about such situations, but I think that's the kind of criticism that the SABC needs to take on, so that next year, when the process unfolds again, things are done better.
All right, let's leave it there. Thanks for coming in. Thanks so much for talking to us about this and talking to us about some of the lineup changes, but specifically on radio, the lineup changes that the SABC, well, it's faced a little bit of criticism, but as you've heard from our spokesperson here at the SABC, give it a chance. It just started last week, the lineup changes, and we'll continue to monitor what the public have to say about all of this. Thank you. Thanks so much again for your time. Let's take a break. We'll see you after this.